well the background philosophy and music of an exciting new British band, Suede.
This year has seen the meteoric rise of the young band Suede. Opening Shot followed them from lead singer Brett Anderson's hometown Haywards Heath to a concert in Brighton and eventually to Los Angeles for a glimpse at their first American tour. Back home, a 15-year-old fan, Molly Walker, helped us find out why Suede have been hailed as one of the most exciting new bands in Britain.
I've been to 3 concerts and I love the whole atmosphere. Everything's really good, and I think Matt said once, you feel with Suede like you're part of a community, you know, everyone's there, and then you feel really this is your place for the while, you know, this is brilliant, this is what teenage life is all about, really. Suede is so important to me because what they say is just so me in a way. I just think, yes, that's how I've been feeling, you know, and someone has been through what I've been through.
The station's probably the most interesting thing about AOT3. Because it's the way out of the place, I suppose, really. My best friend at school, we were both punks together, yeah, so we were in the punk gang. And then one day I was walking to school with him and he told me he decided to become a headbanger. And, like, you know, my best friend, we were the only 2 people into punk in the school, and he decided he was going to become a headbanger, and he sold me all his punk records and bought a load of Deep Purple records and a denim jacket and some patchouli oil. And bought a load of studs for his denim jacket from the market and became this headbanger and completely kind of disowned anything to do with punk. I was into Crass at the time. I used to have a red skiing jacket, so I didn't dress like a member of Crass. I had a red skiing jacket which I sewed a Nagasaki Nightmare patch onto, which is the name of a Crass song. I don't know really what I look like. I probably look like a twit. Sort of remnant from the late 1970s with a home-done haircut, which most people wear at that time.
Here to see Suede and have a weekend that starts today in Brighton.
A long weekend.
On the before we go off to Poole and Newport.
Yeah, we come from Haywards Heath. We think you're brilliant.
Oh,
I'll send you a fancy. Do you remember getting it?
When I speak to the fans, I do feel as though they understand what I'm talking about. Occasionally, you'll meet one who you really think knows what you're talking about, down to the last detail. Because of course, people never can quite delve inside your mind and misread things. But occasionally, I meet one of them, and there'll be a look in their eye which says that they completely understand what you're talking about. Coming along later?
Yeah. You should just write like a little letter or something.
Okay. Why don't you come back afterwards?
Yeah, where would it be after?
Well, we'll be in the thing, but they'll let you in. They will let us.
Thanks so much. Thanks.
I perceive them as being very important in the music business, you know, a very important part of the music business today, because there was such a vast gap in indie music particularly, and I think Suede came along at the right time.
I saw Suede first at the beginning of 1992, and I thought they were exceptional. They weren't headlining or anything, they were just on a bill with other bands, and they stood out, you know, like the proverbial sore thumb. When I decided to put Suede on the cover of Melody Maker and called them the best new band in Britain, I felt very strongly that they would be able to carry it off. I would not have taken that risk because it could have destroyed a group to do that to them, because all of a sudden you make them victims. Everybody's out after them, trying to disprove what you've said. I felt very strongly that they were the best new band in Britain. I still think that they are.
The reason Suede became so successful so rapidly was because the critics loved them, because they were no different, exactly the same as everything the critics grew up with. They hark back to an era of rock and roll that the critics understand, kind of 1973 down the front of the Hammersmith Odeon, watching David Bowie perform all his latest hits. And the critics went with that because everybody wants to hear the music they first grew up with, so they foisted it upon the rest of us.
I don't agree when critics say that they're just, you know, 70s carbon copies or whatever, because I think if they were, people would see through that and just think their music's too 70s orientated. We're not interested, but I don't think people say that, because for us, the teenagers who are Suede's target audience, we haven't lived through the 70s as teenagers, so we don't know what the music's like.
First time I met Brett, it was at a party somewhere in Haywards Heath, and the next time I saw him was when we were both at the same college, and he was playing Beatles songs for some reason on an electric guitar in one of the rooms, and I think the first thing I actually said to him was, "Do you want to be in a band?" Because I was in an incredibly dodgy sub-goth band at the time. And me and Brett just started messing around in his bedroom, playing terrible kind of sub-folk acoustic rock. The moment that Bernard turned up is the moment Suede started to be anything. Basically, because he just made me and Brett buck up our ideas completely. I mean, one of the first things he said to us was, at the end of the very first time we met him, was he asked how old we were. And we were both 22, I think. So we both said, oh, 22. And he just said, oh, you better get a move on then. Which was incredibly cheeky from him, because it was the first time we'd ever met him, but it was completely true, because we had up until that point been quite happy to mess around thinking up good names, or thinking what would be on the sleeve or something. I watch the skyline for him to come, and when he comes along, we'll be gone. We'll go into the city, into the light. We'll be there in the headline, there overnight.
The time when I met Brett, it was just, I just thought he had a great voice and he was nice and he looked good and all that. And the main point was that I knew that I never wanted to be an acoustic guitar player strumming at the back and sort of being happy like that. I always wrote songs from the moment I learned how to put two chords together. That's the first time I wrote a song, and so I'd always wanted to be a songwriter.
This is the big time. This is the way. Now he's in the big time, and you're in the way. And the final piece in the jigsaw appeared when we met Simon, who's a friend of a friend, who used to sell tickets down at Ewley, where we'd go and see gigs. And we'd tried loads of drummers before, because we wanted a real drummer, but no one had fitted in at all. And again, with Simon, it's exactly the same as with Bernard. Within like 15 seconds of him playing, we all just knew he was completely right.
Always been my ambition to be a musician, pop star, whatever, you know, always, since I was 4.
I can't tell you how with me.
This is my 13th band, but all the bands I've been in before, they just weren't. This is the first band I've ever played with that I felt completely 100% into.
You can't take it, I can't take it.
I sometimes think, oh, it's so mundane and boring and average living in Devon. I can't wait to get away and do something a bit more positive, a bit different with my life, which is what Suede have introduced to me. They're not famous in an American film star way. You know, they've made it for themselves through their music. I don't think, you know, they were brought into a glamorous world, but they're definitely... I think it was so unglamorous for them that they've made the glamour.
Suede have affected Molly's life quite positively. You know, she's taken on quite a lot of their statements, and it's perfect because they open up so many topics of conversation for us. Somehow we've actually got closer, Molly and myself, through this, you know, and It's not just a crazy obsession with a band. They're more than that somehow. They're saying something about society today.
Because we are, because we are, we'll take the tide, that's the final, yeah, oh yeah, so young, so young, let's taste the
Where would you guys have been though? Would you rather have gone to Mayday or come up here?
Hello.
Hello, you're right.
We've got
Hi, mate.
Marnie down.
How are you?
Got dirty hands, Oh yeah, Molly had to sing, was it The Next Life in RE to a whole RE group?
Yeah.
Do it then.
No.
Yeah, she did.
In front of the
And
whole
I
class.
sang the
Was
piano.
that for RE?
Yeah. She got her homework, so Mr. Roberts, our teacher, said you have to sing a Suede song. So I chased The Next Life.
When you sang it in front of the class?
Yeah. I was only 7.
Did you have to do? Did you do it all with the falsetto bit?
Yeah, I had to do everything. Although I stopped on the high bit.
Mr. Roberts sounds like. When I really feel quite inspired to write, quite a lot of sadness, quite a lot of feeling of dislocation, and at the same time, the opposite end of the scale quite inspires me. Kind of like a really kind of sort of searing, almost violent side to life really inspires me.
I like you. You're a white tasty geezer. You're my mate. We're mates, aren't we? We're one of the lads.
Whenever I write about people in dislocated situations, whether they're isolated, sort of, you know, in where they live or what they look like or how they think, I always want it to be quite inspiring to the people that it's aimed at. And people always think of the traditional sort of view of heroic people is of kind of like sort of someone in the ghetto or something like that. And of course they're heroic as well, but people never really talk about some sort of housewife in North London, you know. And I decided to write a song about it, so I wrote Sleeping Pills about it, which is just about, I don't know, the sort of drama of the everyday, I suppose. I often write as someone else, but I often write as just a human being, as just a spirit, and so I have the ability to be able to flit into other minds. And often when I talk about men in my songs, people assume that it's because it's got something to do with homosexuality, and it hasn't at all. It's much more to do with the spiritual perception of what being in these situations is all about, really.
had this ambition that you know, one day it would be wonderful if you know you could make kind of credible, kind of great music, you know, basically a kind of guitar rock, you know, traditional guitar rock music, but that people could understand on all levels.
Did you ever go out with her?
Our ambition would probably be to spend all of our time in a studio. I really envy bands like R.E.M. and stuff that can afford to do that can just spend all their time in studios and play live if they want to, but it doesn't really particularly matter. One time that we're at our most relaxed in a way is when we're just working on new material, because you just slot back into just being in the band and you don't have to worry about any of the nonsense, and it all comes ridiculously naturally. Bernard sort of comes up with, you know, tunes. Sometimes they're completely fully formed. Sometimes they're completely got structure and got middle eights and something. Sometimes they're just riffs. And really, I just work on what kind of gives me that spark of inspiration, really.
Words never come into it at all with me. All I know is I've got music going around in my head 24 hours a day. It's the last thing. It puts me to sleep, so I wake up with it. When I'm not talking, I'm thinking about it. And which is pretty sad in a way, because it makes me very dull.
You have to be committed, and you have to not see any point in any other life. Otherwise, you're not giving everything. None of us can act, or none of us can paint or anything like that. You know, I'm rubbish at everything else. Can't even change a plug.
Suede is here.
I love you,
Fred, you're charming and beautiful. I like you a lot, Bernard.
Wait. Who's Miss Piggy?
See you moving in with her.
We're about to play this enormous gig, which is the biggest gig we've ever played.
Brett, I love you. Don't ever stop singing. Come back again. Don't sell out.